Have you ever wondered about Paul's use of the Hebrew scriptures in Romans? Let's take a closer look at Romans chapter 9 verse 27, where Paul quotes Isaiah chapter 10 verse 22, and see how he completely changes its meaning. Romans chapter 9 is a key chapter in Christian theology. Paul uses it to argue that not all Israelites are truly part of God's chosen people, and that only a small remnant of Israel will be saved. This chapter has been used to support doctrines like Calvinism and replacement theology, but here's the problem: Paul distorts the meaning of Isaiah to fit his argument. Let's break this down. In Romans chapter 9 verse 27, Paul quotes Isaiah chapter 10 verse 22, "Though the number of the children of Israel be as the sand of the sea, only a remnant will be saved." At first glance, this seems to support Paul's idea that God is only saving a select few Israelites, specifically those who believe in Jesus. But when we go back to Isaiah chapter 10, we see a completely different context. This chapter isn't about individual salvation through faith in Jesus. It's about the Assyrian invasion of Israel. The Assyrian Empire was destroying the northern kingdom, scattering its people through brutal exile. Isaiah's prophecy was a promise that a small remnant of Israel would survive this national catastrophe, not because of their belief in a future Messiah, but because of God's commitment to his covenant with Israel. Paul takes this prophecy, which is about God preserving Israel during a military crisis, and twists it into a theological argument about salvation. He uses Isaiah's words to claim that only those who believe in Jesus are part of the remnant that God will save, even though Isaiah was talking about the survival of the nation, not individual faith. Here's the critical point: Isaiah's remnant isn't about switching to a new faith or abandoning the Torah. It's about staying loyal to God and his covenant during times of crisis. The entire Hebrew Bible reinforces this. For example, Deuteronomy chapter 7 verse 9 says that God keeps his covenant with those who love him and keep his commandments. The remnant is defined by faithfulness to God and the Torah, not by belief in Jesus. What makes this even more important is how Paul uses this misinterpretation to build major Christian doctrines. By pulling Isaiah chapter 10 verse 22 out of context, he shifts the focus from God's covenant with Israel to a new framework where faith in Jesus becomes the central requirement for salvation. This reinterpretation forms the foundation for ideas like replacement theology, where the church replaces Israel as God's chosen people, and Calvinism, which emphasizes predestination and the idea that God only saves a select few. But when you look at the original text in Isaiah, it's clear that Paul's argument falls apart. Isaiah wasn't talking about replacing Israel or narrowing salvation to a small group of believers. He was talking about God's faithfulness to preserve Israel as a nation, despite their disobedience, because of his covenant. So why does this matter? Because Paul isn't just misquoting scripture, he's reshaping its meaning entirely to fit his own agenda. The true message of Isaiah is about God's loyalty to Israel and the importance of staying faithful to him and his Torah. Paul's version erases this and replaces it with a theology that shifts the focus away from the covenant and distorts the message of the Hebrew scriptures. If you're a Christian, ask yourself, why does Paul need to twist the words of Isaiah to make his point? Why does he take a prophecy about Israel's survival during the Assyrian invasion and turn it into something entirely different? The answer is clear. Paul's theology depends on reinterpreting the Hebrew scriptures in a way that suits his message, even when it contradicts the original meaning.